Hello, it's Mio and welcome to another bird painting. So this is the fourth bird painting that I've made so far, and just like with the other ones, we're gonna start right on with the paint. I have made the sketch beforehand with a brown marker, and I am, just like with all the other paintings, painting on a reused canvas. So this is an old canvas that had a painting on it previously that I painted over. And after this painting, I only have one more old canvas to use. So for this fourth bird painting, I decided on painting a seagull. And because I do not like seagulls at all, and I think they are the worst birds to ever exist, I decided to make it into a prison bird. So all of the other paintings have had like kind of these old themes and putting birds in different roles. Like we have a jester parrot, I made a pigeon, a sheriff, and a duck wizard. So I thought it was only fitting to make a seagull prisoner this time. And to keep up with the theme, the seagull will also be wearing old-timey prison wear. So like a striped sweater, and there's gonna be a ball and chain, and then a tiny little hat. And then I also decided on making a little bit of a background this time. I usually don't do that. Only with like a little window, so it looks like it's in a prison cell. And a fun fact, this idea was actually my mom's. My mom helped me come up with this idea, so thank you, mother. But back to the painting. Here I'm painting the wing, which was probably the hardest part of this painting, to be honest. I usually don't struggle that much, but I have realized throughout all the different paintings that painting the wing is the most difficult part. I want to get some texture in there, so I'm trying really hard. I tried some lighter tones over the darker, but I feel like that kind of ruined it because the wings are mostly black or dark, at least in my reference picture. So I do go a little bit back and forth with that wing, and I will be doing that throughout the process. I cut a lot of that out because it's very boring to see, especially because I usually just start and then I give up and then I go back to it. Here I'm painting the stripes, so I'm starting with the white stripes, and this was probably the most fun part of the process because I really liked making all the small details and also how it came together in the end. So in the start it's gonna look very messy, but then it gets better and better as I go further into the sweater. The most important thing to remember when painting the sweater is to remember that the light comes from the window. So I have to try to make some lighter colors on the top of the sweater where the light is coming from. But other than that, the only other struggle with this was making wrinkles, which I try to do here and there later on in the process. Otherwise, there's not that much to the sweater, really. Here I am finishing up the sweater with some extra details, fixing up some small parts, and then it is time for the little hat. And the hat was kind of hard because I didn't really know where the shadows are supposed to go because the they have so many stripes and each individual stripe is not sticking out, so they shouldn't be shaded, which I'm realizing here, and then I fix that. And then I decided to work on the ball and chain, even though I probably should have worked on the feet first, but I just really wanted to paint this part because I was really in the mood to do some more detailed work, so I decided to just go ahead and do this part first. I started with this middle toned grey, so the mid-tone for everything, before I go in with some shadows and highlights. So the ball is kind of standing in a shadow, but I still wanted the highlight, so I just aimed the highlight at the window or around where the window would be, even though the body of the seagull would most likely cover the ball. Then I did some reflective light on the bottom of the ball, and then it is time for the chain. Also very simple shadows and lights, where I mostly just put the light in the middle just to get some highlight in there, and also on the top as a little reflective light and to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. And then here I had the shiniest little light and also some more light around the ball, and then some highlight on the chain. Here I've already done the shadows. I think I must have cut that out because it's really dark or hard to see the shadows of the chain, so I just decided to cut it out because you don't see much anyway. Here it is time for the number tag. I just chose a random number for this, 279, and there's probably some other numbers on the other side of the uniform as well. And this was another tiny little detail that I really enjoyed making. I think it's really fun to work on this small detail work, even though the numbers don't really look that much like numbers. But I tried my best here. And here I decided to go ahead and do the beak. So seagull's beaks are pretty simple, really. They are just yellow or kind of an orangey tint, but I do fix that later. I started with yellow, and then they have some red details. Here I start making the beak a little bit more orangey, and then I made the edges of the beak even more orange, or almost red. And I don't even remember if that was in the reference photo, but I thought it would look good, and it looked kind of more like it was shaded, which I like. And then they also have this red dot on the bottom of their beak, which supposedly if you press it, it will make them puke. So it's a little puke button, really. So I painted in the puke button before painting the inside of the mouth, which is just this kind of a brownish red color, and then I make it darker on the edges, lighter on the outer corners, and then I make the tongue. Here is the nostril, and then I make the eye yellow, and then I make the outside of the eyes a little bit more orange. Here I felt like the nostril was looking really flat compared to the rest of the seagull, especially with the eye over there, so I shaded a little bit better before I moved on to the legs. And the legs were really hard as well, especially because they have this weird little knee thing that is just a chunk of a knee. It's just like a circle right on the leg, and I think it looks just really freaky and doesn't really make any sense. But I added that in there anyways, and then I just went very much back and forth until I was happy with it. So I go in with some red, and then I use some more orangey tones, and then I go back to yellow, and then I make some line art with black. Yeah, a lot of back and forth. Not with much plan really, just doing things until I'm happy. Then the seagull gets some black nails because it looks good. And then it's time for the background. So I decided on a brown background instead of grey because the seagull is already a lot of blacks and greys. So it's gonna be more of a dirt prison cell, if that makes sense. At this point in the process, my phone was really low on battery, so I did not get the rest of the footage of the background. Here's a little snapshot of me doing some parts in the background, made some tiny rocks, and then I pretty much just shaded the earth and made the walls and the ground two slightly different colors, but still in the same range. Here I paint the window. I also don't have much of the window process, but it's very straightforward, just light and shadows. And I wanted the window to be really deep inside, and I wanted the bars to be outside the wall, if that makes sense. But I probably, in hindsight, should have made them inside of the window to make it look a little bit more realistic. But it is what it is. Here I'm painting the rocks around the window, and this is pretty much the last bit of process footage that I have left. And here is the finished result of the prison seagull. I have a little bit of a love-hate relation with it. I think there are some things I could have done better, but I still quite like it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it, and I will see you again next week. Goodbye.